So I had a comment the other day on one of my a clip of one of the podcast episodes where somebody had said something along the, I'm paraphrasing, but something along the lines of, why do people always talk about racism? It's so divisive. And I could see there was a whole conversation going on, and I didn't get involved because I never get involved in those types of conversations because it can, it's just not worth my time or energy, and I always try and keep my peace. So if you're ever wondering why I don't comment, particularly on places like TikTok or YouTube, that's why. But I wanted to address that because it is a question that comes up quite a bit, and I want to deal with that, and I also want to provide a tool, if you like, for people or a response for when people are asked this and they're kind of stumped because they don't know what to say because it's quite surprising and they hadn't really thought about the answer. So here we go. All right. So whenever this question is asked, it's important to think about who does it benefit if we stop talking about racism, right? The reason people talk about racism, people who are affected directly or allies, is because they want it to stop, is because it's perpetual, it's tiring, at its worst, it causes death. It's a really horrible aspect of life, and we just want it to stop. And so that's why we talk about it, because we're sick and tired of it. And it's very much systemic. It's not just about a person doing it. It's about, it's almost everywhere, right? And so what's the alternative? If we don't talk about it, then we stay quiet. And if we stay quiet, hoping it just goes away, knowing the systemic nature of it, knowing that it benefits other people for us to not advocate for ourselves, it will still happen. So therefore, we have very little choice but to talk about it in order to try and cease racism, or at least slow it down, just for it to not happen as much as it does even, right? So there's a simple answer, but I want to put it into a bit of some sort of context, right? So let's imagine, and forgive me, it's a very basic example, but I hope you can see it through this. But let's imagine, right, you're at school, you're at secondary school, and you're being bullied by this person. Let's say this person happens to be friends with your friends, okay? And you're just sick and tired of it, and you keep saying to your friends, oh my gosh, so-and-so, they keep saying these things to me, they keep making these snide remarks and keep putting me down, and I really don't like it. It really hurts my feelings, and it just really upsets me. The other night I went home and I just cried my eyes out because I couldn't understand why they were being so nasty to me. And instead of your friends turning around and saying, oh, that's really bad. We need to do something about this. They say, gosh, why are you always talking about, I don't know, Sally, Frederick, I don't know, whatever the name is, you're causing problems, stop causing problems. Maybe if you don't talk about it, maybe they'll just stop doing it.
Hey, I know you're enjoying the podcast episode, but I just want to quickly come in and say, look, if you're an organization that needs anti-racism training for your organization because your staff are lacking in a racial literacy, they don't have the words, they get stuck when talking about racism, they want to be able to deal with incidents, but they're not sure how to, then check out our Time to Talk About Race online CPD accredited course at strawberrywords.co.uk. Okay, we can train from 10 to 10,000, but get in touch today at admin@strawberrywords.co.uk. Now back to the episode.
And you're just like, hold on a minute. you're confused because you're thinking that your friends have got the same values as you, which basically is you don't want anyone to be treated poorly based on their identity or anything. Right? Because that's like a universal human value, right? It's that we treat everybody equally. Yet here I am saying I'm being treated unfairly and I'm being harmed. And you're telling me just to be quiet? What is actually happening in that moment is that person's feelings are being dismissed. They are being told In other words, that your feelings are not that important. And in fact, even if you are getting harmed, in fact, you're telling us to be getting harmed. It's not like we don't believe you, but actually, we don't want to hear about it. So keep that stuff to yourself, please, so we can just keep living our merry lives. And that's the same way in which this type of comment, that's the same kind of effect this type of comment has, right? It communicates that I don't care about what you're going through. I don't care about the problems you're facing. It's just really inconvenient for me to hear this. So can you please be quiet? Go and feel your pain elsewhere. That's what's really been said. That's the meta communication underneath it. And it's actually a microaggression, okay? It's actually a micro invalidation, which is a type of microaggression, which basically says that your feelings are not important, and I'm going to center my own feelings, okay? So this comment is designed to shut the conversation down, talking about racism is divisive. Please stop talking about it, okay? And so that's, I don't want to make this too much of a long episode, but it's important to say this because a lot of people, I don't know if maybe because they're not used to having in-depth conversations about race don't see this. I think some don't see this. I think some do see this and still want the conversation to be shut down. But it's important that we pay attention to comments and questions that are often they're so frequent, that they're normalized. And when they're normalized, they're legitimized, but it doesn't make them right. Okay? Doesn't make them right. So I don't want to make this too much of a long episode, so I think I'm going to end this here. But what I do want to say is, when somebody does ask you that question, which is, why do you keep talking about racism? It's so divisive. Just ask them the question, who benefits if we stop talking about racism? And patiently wait for their answer.